Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today. My name is Amanda. I am the social media specialist here at Bright. And today I am joined by Ashwini, who is the co-founder and CEO of Eydle. And today she is going to talk to us about social media impersonation and how to protect yourself. One quick housekeeping note that I'll go over. If you have any questions throughout her presentation, feel free to just pop them in the chat and we will get to them as soon as we can. So without further ado, I'm going to mute myself and Ashwini, you can take it away.
Hello everyone and good morning if you are, wherever you are, or good evening. I guess everyone's in Pacific time, so good morning. So I'm going to be talking about social media impersonation and how to protect yourself. Also, I'll briefly talk a little bit about AI and how AI helps. And feel free to stop me and ask me questions. And I will try to answer them as much as I can. All right, let's start. Okay, so when earlier this year, when Russia invaded Ukraine, we saw a steep increase in number of impersonation accounts for the president of Ukraine. Now, what I'm showing you here is one of those impersonation accounts on Instagram. So if you see the top portion is the real verified account of the president, and the bottom one is an impersonation account. So you can see that the impersonation account has copied the picture. It has a handle that is kind of similar to the real profile. And it also claims to be the official profile of the president. You can also observe that the real one has 14 million followers, more than 14 million followers, whereas the fake one has around 500 followers. Now, one thing to be noted is these 500 followers were acquired within hours, not even days. So this is an example of impersonation. Now, probably several questions are coming to mind, right? The first one being, Ashwini, does anyone ever fall for this? And we know as people in security, yes, phishing is common and people do fall for it all the time. Now, maybe the next question is like, how often does it happen? Is this quite common, especially on social media? Again, the answer is yes, it is very common. So impersonation is a growing problem, or I would rather say exploding problem on social media. So in 2021, 1 in 8 people on social media was impersonated, and that's huge. And people lost more than, in the US, consumers lost more than $4 billion to impersonation scams. And because of COVID, we all moved online, and that just made these scammers really focus on social media. And there was a 274% increase, which is almost 4 times increase in 2021 compared to 2020. So again, social media is huge. There are like 4 billion users. But when we usually say, whenever I say impersonation on social media, what usually people think of are the consumers or the users. But it's not just users. There are 200 million businesses on social media, also 50 million creators. But the 200 million businesses, they all have a social media presence, and many of them, including banks and Web3, which is crypto and NFT, and retail, they communicate and even provide customer service through social media. So businesses are losing millions and millions in losses because of these scams, the scams that impact their customers. So we all know, we all get those phishing emails pretending to be our bank. The same thing happens through social media. Right now, I'm showing you an example of brand phishing, and it's actually phishing. This is phishing a neobank in India. It's one of the biggest neobanks in India. And just like phishing emails and phishing websites, the fake profiles try to steal financial information and sensitive personal information and crypto wallet information and login credentials through social media profiles, so fake social media profiles. So what I'm showing here is, by the way, one question. So can you see the both things, or is this screen here blocking it?
I see both.
Okay. All right. Maybe I'll just do this. Okay. All right. So, so what I'm showing you here is there are two profiles. One of them is real and verified. You can see the blue check mark here. The other one is a fake profile, but a very sophisticated fake profile. So you can again see that the logo is similar. The color schemes are very similar. Posts are different, but the color schemes are very similar. The bio is pretty similar, but you can also note here that this one does have a lot of followers. It has 25,000 followers. Now, most of those followers are probably fake followers. There are also many who did fall for this fake profile. Now, so why does this matter? Okay, you could say, Ashwini, this is one fake profile. Well, there are many, many such fake profiles on almost a daily basis that scammers create. But even if that's the case, so what's the big deal about a fake profile? So the big deal is that these fake profiles can cost a lot of money, a lot of fraud losses, depending on the segment, of course. But let's consider financial services. Let's consider banks, or this neobank. Now, what I'm showing you here is one Instagram post by one of these fake profiles, that I just showed you. So what you're seeing is basically this post was actually made by the real account. Now the fake profile copied it. This is one of the giveaways that they were running. So this is a fake profile. They copied it. Now what you see here is like 55 likes. And I'm also showing you here all the people who actually thought this was a real thing and gave the scammers their invite code. And what generally happens is the people fall for it, and then the scammer will go ahead and say, okay, direct message me your details. And then they will ask for all sorts of details, bank account number, whatever other things that they need to go ahead later and like either do account takeover or do some unauthorized transfer. So why is it 150,000? Because now there are direct financial losses, but for every dollar that a consumer loses, a bank loses like $4 additional for indirect fraud losses. So it's almost 5 times the loss. So, and generally, like for a scam like this, an average loss is $3,000 for a bank. So now if 50 people fell for just one account, That's like $150,000 right there, just one fake profile. And that's why it's so important that banks and other segments that are impacted find as many fake profiles as possible and take them down as soon as possible. So now, this problem is not just Instagram. This problem is everywhere. This is Facebook. This is LinkedIn, on Twitter. It happens on every single platform. And what makes it worse is not only the social media profiles just scam customers directly on social media, they also redirect them to external things. They can have like customer care numbers that you see here, customer care number in one of these fake profiles. But they also often have links to phishing websites. They have fake email addresses that they provide. So all these just make the problem worse, make the problem of phishing and fraud worse. Okay, so as in security, we talk about first party and we talk about third party. Same thing applies here in this context. First party here is the bank itself. So what I showed you like in the last few slides, there's the bank or there's an organization, there's a company, and it has its own social media profiles. Now they could protect those social media profiles, right? They can see if someone impersonated them. But on social media, especially these days, every organization, every company is using influencers, micro-influencers, celebrities. Now, it's not just scammers impersonate the brand itself, they also impersonate the influencers. So and influencers in this context are third parties. So what I'm showing you here is on the left, is a post by this one person, Douglas Thompson. He has around 20,000 followers. And he made a post back in 2021 about American Express. And you can see that post had 827 likes. Now, just 5 days ago, someone, a scammer, you can see here there's an underscore, there's a sneaky underscore here. So this is from a fake profile of this Douglas Thompson. And the fake profile now copied the American Express post. And that also has 31 likes. So it's important for brands and companies to know that on social media, it's not just first-party attacks where they just protect their own presence, but it's also important that if they're working with influencers, they understand that those influencers can also be impersonated, and that happens all the time. Now, if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer. If not, are there any questions so far?
There's no questions in the chat so far. I think everything you said made a lot of sense.
All right. Okay, let's keep going then. So I talked about, why it's important and what do these scams do? So now I want to talk a little bit about how does this propagate? Let's say a scammer creates a fake profile. How does this reach users? So, in case of email, it's like spray and pray. Like they just send billions of emails, right? Phishing emails. And what happens on social media? Is there anything special? Indeed, there are some things that are special on social media. And so I'm going to talk about 4 different vectors, propagation vectors. There are others, but let's talk about the main ones. Search results, tagging by users, recommended by platforms, and active targeting by scammers. So let's talk about it one by one. So search results. So what do I mean by that? So what I'm showing you here is basically Instagram, and you see there's a search box. Same thing exists on Twitter, on LinkedIn, on other social media platforms. So now if I want to look up, let's say, a bank, so right now I'm just using the example of Varo Bank. It's one of the new banks as well. So I'm on Instagram and I go and type Bank. Now, what shows up under accounts, you can see, okay, there's one with a blue check mark. But there are also so many other fake profiles. Now, most of the times, I probably will just know, especially if I know what's a blue check mark, I will say, okay, so this top one appears to be the real profile. But many times when people are looking for something, they might be in a hurry, there might be a sense of urgency, they might just want to complain, which happens. So let's say you are a customer of a Bank, you're trying to transfer something, money to maybe urgently, and it's not happening. And so maybe you try to call them and there's a long wait time. So you think, okay, let me go on social media. Maybe you've never done it before, or you have done it before, but you search for it, and then you might fall for, usually people do fall for some of these fake profiles. So this is search results, and when you search for this, the real profile, fake profiles do show up. And that's one vector how these fake profiles reach customers or consumers, users on social media platforms. So there's another thing, right? So especially on social media, people can tag their own posts. So this one, American Express India, is a fake profile, again for Amex. And so what I'm showing you here is not the post, but I've clicked on tagged. And so as we know, when we create any post, we can tag other accounts. And so this person here, who is an influencer, created a post, and she has tagged several accounts. So American Express with the blue check mark. There's also American Express India, which she probably thought was the Indian handle of American Express. Similarly, she has another bank here. Plus, this is also a fake profile of Axis Bank, which is one of the big banks. So, and you can see now, so what happens when someone tags it, right? So whatever users are following her, so this post has 53 likes. Now they are also exposed to these fake handles, to these fake profiles, which legitimizes these fake profiles. So the scammer created this profile. Now this person, this influencer, was creating her post, and then she tags this fake profile. Now all her followers are also exposed to that fake profile. Okay, so let's talk about what's the next vector. This is very interesting, right? So all the social media platforms use algorithms to make recommendations. So what I'm showing you here is recommendation from Instagram. So suggestions for you. So probably if you're on Instagram, you will see that on the right side, you will see some suggestions, or at the bottom of a profile, you might see similar other profiles. Now, what happens is whenever there are fake profiles, Instagram or any other social platform can start making recommendations. Hey, look, this is a profile that you might want to follow. And here what you're seeing is that. So Chime is again another neobank. And Instagram is telling me, hey, follow this account, follow this Chime account, which actually makes it quite, which is worse, because people might actually, if you believe Instagram, you might actually think, or at least consider that it's a higher level of trust. So now the last one, yeah.
And we just have a question in the chat, if that's okay. So it was asked, what are scammer triggers for targeting individuals, not through businesses, but individuals specifically? Because I guess last year, this person had someone create a fake profile replicating his on LinkedIn, with education, professional experience, etc.?
Yeah, so by triggers, can I ask what sort of trigger? Is it like why they are doing that, or what they are trying to accomplish through that? Why picking?
Yeah,
Okay.
so what, yeah.
So some of the things are, it's very common. It's always the motivations generally are financial. That's a very common incentive. They might be, depending on your role. So just recently there was a big uptake in scammers creating fake profiles for CISOs, CISOs. A lot of those were created on LinkedIn. So on LinkedIn, the scams do look slightly different. So they could be job scams. Those could be business scams. Those could be crypto scams. Very similar. And generally, they do have either the incentive of collecting sensitive personal information that later can be used to do some financial scam, or it could be just direct financial incentive. Now, why did they pick you? Depends. So were you hiring, or did you say somewhere on your profile, I'm hiring? That can be why. Or they were trying to, if you're a CISO, or if you're a CEO, CEO scams are so common, right? So, hey, I'm your CEO, I'm locked out and I need you to transfer this money right now. So this is another very common scam. So generally there's a lot of financial incentive involved, and depending on what your role is at your company, you might be a target. There are also other incentives. I will cover them slightly in some of the coming slides. So other than financial, yes, there are other incentives that are involved. Does that answer your question for now?
They haven't, it said not really. I guess they were hoping you would know the reason why, but you can't possibly know that because you're not the attacker.
So I guess, yeah. So if you're a program manager, engineer, I could just guess that maybe you have a lot of followers. I don't know. I can make guesses why someone's the target. As I said, generally there are motivations, incentives for the scammer to do that. And they could be, maybe you have lots of followers. Well, maybe not. One of the other things that happens is they just pretend to be you and then message your followers saying, hey, I'm locked out. I really need this money now. I lost my wallet, or I'm stuck in this airport. Could be anything, They generally, one thing to remember is on social media, people do have a higher level of trust. Now, don't ask me why, but people are 6 times, actually 10 times more likely to fall for a scam on social media compared to if you got something through SMS. So there's a higher level of trust when people receive messages from people they follow or people that they know. They are likely to fall for whatever scam.
Awesome. And we have another question in the chat from Ben. Wondering, what are your thoughts on potential enhanced account creation or content posting verification using public-private key pairs or cryptographic signatures owned by the verified user?
I didn't catch the question regarding posting verification using public-private key pairs. So I think the question here, okay, so I see 2 things here. So one could, are you saying that if we somehow verified the content we are posting, someone can know that, at least they have a chance to see the difference between a fake post and a real post? Is that the question?
Ben hasn't said anything else, but I believe that's what he's asking.
Okay, so, we can definitely do things more than what exists today to help users make an informed decision. So just like, today, I think there are 4 billion plus accounts on social media, and I think only 250,000 of them are verified. So most of the 200 million businesses don't have a verified account. So giving them a blue check mark, at least some of them, can help users make an informed decision. Similarly, for posts, if there was a way to verify which one's a real post, that can definitely help.
Why do they only verify some people and not other people? Like, for instance, it's well known that they will verify men a lot more often than women. Like, do you have any insight into that? Like, why they won't verify so many of us?
I have some insight. So one of the things is and it can be an entire talk why verification is broken on social media. So the origins of that was not really verification. It just has become something that's being used for so many reasons for which it was not created in the first place, which we can say about many things in security, right? So one of the reasons, social media, getting this verified check mark is not just showing your identity. It's also a lot about, oh, I am special. I got this. Now I'm someone. So they don't want to give it to many, many people because then that thing of exclusivity just goes away. They want people to work harder and harder to get that. And one of the things is not just, so when you look at, so every platform has a slightly different requirement to give this verified check mark or the blue check mark. One of them, of course, they say you have to be a legitimate entity, but there are also other requirements. You have to be influential, and for which not just the number of followers, but what is your engagement rate? Do you post often? Do your posts get a lot of likes? They also look at that. And there are other things they look at. For example, it has to be a unique account. So even brands that have their one account verified sometimes can get their regional accounts verified because now it's no longer unique. But I think the biggest thing is they want to maintain this veneer of exclusivity. I would say that's kind of keeps them from verifying as many as possible. On the other side, it's also takes money. It takes effort to verify profiles, which no one's paying them to do that. No, by them, I mean the social media platforms. So that's another reason. Why waste effort and money on that? The last thing I can say is that scammers and scams and fake profiles in a way do benefit social media platforms. Because if you think about it, for them, the good indicators are monthly growth and activity, engagement, how many active users. And guess what? Scammers are active all the time. And scam accounts do count towards the total number of profiles and monthly growth. Tanya, did I answer your question?
You really did. I mean, that explains why they won't verify most of us. And it's not really a verification. It's more like a status symbol. And yeah, thank you. It does help me understand a lot better.
Sure. Okay, so I will continue. I'm happy to take more questions, but I guess there are no questions right now. So are they? I can't see. Sorry. Okay, no questions. All right. So talked about recommendations from platforms themselves, which is pretty bad. But let's talk the last one, active targeting. So we know that phishing emails are not just, it's not just spray and pray. There's also a lot of spear phishing that happens. So specifically targeting users. Now, something the kind of similar to that, what happens on social media is, again, active targeting. So it's not that these scammers just create profiles and just stay quiet, stay passive. No, once they create those profiles, they do actively target users. And who are these users that they target? They are the ones that are actively engaging with the brand. So here I'm showing you two examples. On the left, I'm showing you messages. And on the right, I'm showing you, okay, this account started following you. Now, what happened here was that so both of them belong to a user on Instagram. And what had happened was the user, in one case, the user had just liked a post from Chime. The moment the user liked the latest post from Chime, now they become a target. And the fake accounts or fake profiles of Chime started commenting. Sorry, this is not message, this is commenting on that user's post. So this post that the scammer commented on is the user's post, the user's latest post. And of course, they're saying, oh, you won something, and then just messages, give us all your details. On the right side, similar thing happens. So in this case, the user had just started following Chime. They had just become a follower of Chime's social media profile. And immediately, the scam profiles started following them. The following also happens when you like someone's post or you make a comment on the brand's post. So in addition to comments and following, there's also a lot of direct messages that a user can get when they engage with the brand. And why is this bad, right? So brands spend millions of dollars trying to get followers, and they spend millions more trying to get them to be engaged, right? Okay, let's like my post or comment on my post, engage with my content. Now, those engaged customers or followers becoming the target and them getting pissed off because they get scammed is not really good for a brand. So brands do have to be careful, and take some measures to proactively protect their followers and engaged followers from these scams. So now I'll go into some other types of brand impersonation. So far what I've talked about is all financial motives. Again, those financial motives persist, but there are also some other motives. So let's talk about that. So other things that happen, government impersonation is also pretty common. So, when COVID happened, there was a lot of tax relief scams or coronavirus, helping. So government had lots of initiatives to economically, compensate businesses. So relief payments. So there are a lot of people, scammers creating this, impersonating IRS in the US. They were also impersonating small business administration. Of course, social security assistance, it's a big thing, it happens all the time. So government impersonation defrauds a lot of people. Again, the incentive here is still financial. So the other big thing is counterfeit goods. So, Louis Vuitton bags, maybe they cost $2,000. So and someone's selling it for $1,000. And a lot of us do want a good deal, right? I mean, if it's a real bag and you pay half the price, why not? But generally, those are not real bags. So yes, selling counterfeit goods is a big thing. Counterfeit goods is like $1.5 trillion in losses. So that's a huge, huge market for scams, especially during COVID. A lot of these physical markets, like in-person markets where the goods were being sold, had to be shut down. So a lot of those scams moved online. People, especially the social media, they started reaching out to their customers or, well, victims through social media. So fake news. So that's also impersonation. So there is, of course, spread of disinformation, and that has different motives, incentives, not just financial. It might be a state actor. So, for example, the very beginning, I showed an impersonation account of President Zelensky of Ukraine. Now, why was that? A lot of that was just propaganda. One party trying to, if there are two parties involved, in a conflict, both parties can try to assert their influence through fake profiles. They might be spreading propaganda messages like, oh, war is the only way to peace. We actually saw that. So yeah, but what happens is many of us, we don't live in the fringes. We don't go for the outright conspiracy theories. We believe things that come from like authoritative sources. So what I'm showing you here is an example. So during that invasion of Ukraine, right around the time, there was a lot of uncertainty. And this here, right here, was one of the posts. It was impersonating BBC. This actually was on a profile for CNN Politics. If you see, there is actually not politics, it's like POI. So this was a fake profile that was impersonating CNN, which is, reputable, at least in the United States. And the headline was, okay, so France surrenders to Russia, right? I mean, maybe most people don't fall for it, but given it was coming from CNN and it was around the, invasion of Ukraine, which was a lot of uncertainty, sure, some people might even fall for this. So the point here is that, spreading disinformation becomes way more easy and effective when these scammers or these people spreading this disinformation impersonate authoritative sources. And it's also very common. If you look at social media, the Wall Street Journal, CNN's, New York Times, LA Times, they're all being impersonated, and disinformation is spreading, claiming to be these authoritative sources. Okay, so those were some other ways in which scams happen and how brands get impersonated. And now I want to talk a little bit about AI and how AI might help. So why AI, or what can AI do? So let's talk about phishing through email or phishing through websites. There are many solutions for that, some more effective than others. But when you think about how do we identify phishing website, generally it's like URL analysis or IP reputation analysis. We are not really looking, generally the solutions are not really looking at the content of a web page, of a phishing web page. If you think about email, also a bunch of text and not much visuals, not many like pictures or images. Websites, there are pictures and images, but the content doesn't change a lot compared to social media. Think about an Instagram profile. How visual is that? A lot more visual than websites. Definitely email, a lot more visual than email. So there's a lot of visual content, posts and pictures, which also change rapidly on social media. So the traditional techniques of identifying phishing on websites or through email are not very effective for finding this impersonation and phishing on social media. So one of the things that AI helps is visual similarity analysis. Deep learning models specifically help with that. Now think about, like in some of the previous example, I showed you the real profile from a bank, and then I showed you an impersonation profile for that bank. Now, if you are a cybersecurity analyst, how would you look at those two and say, okay, this is a fake one. This one is impersonating this real one. You probably will look at maybe the bio, maybe the profile photo or the logo. Maybe you look at pose. So you're doing a lot of visual analysis. The same thing we can automate using AI models. And that does help to do this analysis at scale. If you have to analyze a few profiles, fine, you can do it manually. But you want to do it at scale, because these scams, it's like a game of whack-a-mole. You take one down, another one will pop up. On the same day, there'll probably be 10, 15, 20 of these profiles, fake profiles. So when you want to do it at scale, you can't have a cybersecurity analyst sitting there and doing this visual comparison. So using deep learning, we can actually automate that process. The other thing I want to say is sometimes these profiles, fake profiles that are impersonating a brand or a person, they're not like malicious. Maybe they just thought, oh, this logo is cool. I'm just going to copy this. So the intent there is not really phishing or anything malicious. But regardless, it is trademark infringement because someone did copy the logo. So, but using AI, we could detect some intent. Is this just copying a logo, or does this also have an external redirection to a phishing website? Or does it have some sort of, fake phone numbers or fake email addresses? So even that intent detection can be automated through AI. So here it's just showing, so this thing is just showing, this is British Telecom, and this is one of this logo detection models, which is an AI model. It's just like everywhere there's British Telecom, you can see it drew a box around it and gave it some score. Okay, this was like very high match to the logo. This one's a very high match. This is not so much a match. But the same thing, when we do look at two different social media profiles, we can assign it a score, like how closely do they match based on the bio, the pictures, the posts. So yeah, so that's the role of AI. Okay, so the last point I want to cover is, what are some tips to protect yourself or your brand? And there are many, many. I just want to cover some that it's not very, people don't think of this often. So I'm going to cover those. So the first one is maintaining a clean presence, right? So what do I mean by maintaining a clean presence? Well, many of us have all these old profiles, which we don't delete. Please delete it. If there's a profile you're not using, please delete that. And why is it? It's about attack surface. If you have one profile, now the impersonator, the scammer can, copy or clone that profile. If you have two, well, they have now two different profiles that they can copy. The second part I want to say, and this is very much applicable to big brands, is please consistently verify your profiles. So many times we see, a company has 5 profiles. And this is a big company and they can get all their profiles verified. This is not like small business or just, individuals who cannot get their profiles verified. These are big, big brands. They have like 5 profiles and 3 of them are verified and 2 are not verified. And what does that do? That just trains their followers to ignore these blue verified check marks. The scammer comes along, creates a 6th profile, which is fake. And then the follower like, well, they had 2 profiles that were anyway not verified, so this must be another of those profiles. So inconsistency just trains people to ignore these blue check marks. The second one I would say is regular monitoring. Now, this doesn't have to be like an automated thing, but at least just monitor once in a while. Maybe it's once in a week or once in a month. Go and check if there are some things bad happening to your profiles. And in cybersecurity, and we all know that if it's not designated task for someone and it's not in the policy somewhere to do it, it doesn't get done. So you need to have a policy in place, and you need to have someone do it and do it consistently. Of course, one can also use automated services that will do it for you. But still something needs to be done. Some level of monitoring is a must. The third point is understanding reporting options. So, okay, so you do monitor your profiles, right? Then what? Then you find some fake profiles. Now what? What do you do with those fake profiles? Well, you report them to the platform. Now, many people don't understand that there are multiple reporting options. In every platform, it's the same. There are multiple reporting options. When you find a fake profile that impersonates you or your brand, you could report it as impersonation, like ID impersonation. There are also other things. You can report it under trademark infringement. For example, if someone copied your trademark registered logo, you can report it as trademark infringement. If someone copied your posts and you created those posts, you have copyright over it. So you can report copyright violation. Now, why is this important? It's important because you have to think about the incentive for the platform to take that profile down, take that fake profile down. Now, generally, so when you report something, a platform can take it down in hours, or they can take days, or they can take weeks. Now, that's because what's their incentive? The biggest incentive for them is if they don't have protection, like for example, trademark infringement. If someone's trademarking is being infringed and they report it to the platform and the platform doesn't do anything or takes a long time, the platform can be sued in court. The same thing doesn't apply to copyright violation. They generally have DMCA, which is the Digital Millennium Copyright Act, that shelters them from liability. So they are not that quick on DMCA reports. Counterfeit generally gets the highest priority, and they're very good at taking down counterfeit posts. And again, that goes back to the incentives. So knowing what's the best way to report is important. And educating yourself about these things, helps. The last thing I would say is, how does a brand or a person increase leverage with platforms? And leverage is the same thing, like you report something, how fast does the platform take it down? And there are a couple of things you can do to improve leverage. Registering your trademarks is important. It really helps. This is especially applicable to small businesses that are using logos, but they never register it. Because some platforms, unless it's registered, they don't care, like whatever. So registering it takes some time, but it's not very expensive. It can be done. Same thing, if you're making posts, try to add this notice, like copyright, see the name of the brand, or if it's just you, individual, your name, and the year it was created. Just even having this notice actually helps. So that was it. That's all I had. Here's my contact. If you have questions or you need help with something, I'm happy to always, chat and help.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Ashwini. That was very educational. If anyone has any more questions that we haven't covered, feel free to pop them in the chat or let us know now.
What does Eydle do? Like, does it do the thing? Like, does it? Sorry if you just said I got called away for 10 minutes. Of course, I come back right at the end too late. Um, did you already define that for us? Because then I'll just watch the video.
No, I didn't talk about what Eydle does. So Eydle provides monitoring and takedown services for fake profiles. That's what we do.
Okay.
So we
Yeah.
can do both brands, we can do VIPs, any sort of impersonation that happens on social media, any platform. It can be LinkedIn, it can be Instagram, it can be Facebook, Twitter. We basically monitor. So you let's say, Tanya, you come to us and say, this is my profile. I want to make sure no one is impersonating me. So we just do the regular monitoring. We find anyone who's trying to impersonate you or your brand, and then we work with the platforms to take those things down. We report them to the platforms and report them in the best possible way. In some of in the previous slide I covered that. You can report it under trademark infringement, copyright infringement. There are many ways to report something. Report a fake profile. We find the best possible way. We report it on your behalf as your authorized agent, and then we follow through until the platform, takes them down. Because sometimes
Cool.
it's not just one time. You have to do it multiple times, 5
Yeah.
times, 6 times.
Yeah. Some people are persistent with being jerks. Cool. Thank you.
Sure. So yeah, this is my email address. If you have any further questions, I'm happy to answer them and discuss through email or set up some time.
Well, thank you everyone so much for coming today. And thank you, Ashwini, for taking the time out of your day as well to teach us all something new. That was fantastic.
Sure, my
Wonderful.
pleasure. My pleasure. Thank you. Thank you for the
Awesome.
opportunity.